Hey, everybody, welcome back to another week. We're going to get into things hot and heavy once again because we are winding down our look into Star Trek Picard. And I'm quite thankful for that because then I'm going to save myself $8 every month until it comes back. Or if it comes back, or if Kurtzman gets Section 31 greenlit quicker and before he gets fired. This is the second to last episode.
I think season 2 was already okayed.
Oh no, yeah, but who? Don't worry, there's time to pull plugs. This is digital.
Thank God.
This is Et and Arcadia Ego Part 1. So, stupid name aside, this is prepping us for the grand Star Wars-ish finale of Star Trek Picard, which has been, if I'm flipping through my notes here of everything, a goddamn disaster. Funny enough, this was the week that I started looking around online and started seeing more and more people and outlets joining us in calling this show stupid.
Yes.
Where it has been what I called it, I think originally was just like a self-wank fest to this, and people on the Facebook page and reviews. And this was the first week when I was looking at stuff where people were just like, hey, this isn't that good. Or review sites now finally probably not fearing, since it's the end, reprisals from CBS saying, this isn't that good.
Well, I mean, you could find them before, but they'd get, deleted. I remember seeing people say, I can't watch this shit with my kids. This isn't Star Trek.
Comments would have been deleted. They're showing up more and more, but now you're starting to see articles, which... I mean, I guess it's fair enough because there's really no recourse against these sites now that Picard is over for season 1, right? You can't punish them after the fact, after they've stroked their dick of CBS for the first couple of months of this. But we've been pretty consistent saying this is really bad, with some shining moments throughout, of course, but few and far between. In this episode,
I'll say the score is really good.
There's some stuff like we've been consistently. The music is fantastic. The cinematography is great. It looks good. The visuals look great. The CGI work is fantastic for a television show.
The designs are terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's stupid, but it looks good. It is a good-looking science fiction show, not in the Star Trek universe. In this episode, really was so... I think this was the episode that was so bad that review sites and other outlets just couldn't sugarcoat it anymore.
Who wrote this one? Do you know?
Because before, even when we talked about other episodes before, we're like, hey, this is really bad in terms of this, and this. But it was still like a competently put together episode in some way or shape or form. Like you could write something good about it, right? It's like, oh, look, Riker and Troy are back. Oh, look, cameo here. Oh, look, what you see online is blah, 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 10 Easter eggs you may have missed on this last episode of Star Trek Picard. The stupid shit. But this episode essentially broke Star Trek for me. And this was the one I saw before you, actually, as I was watching it. I beat you to it this time. And I was violently angry.
Oh, you were apoplectic.
I was about 15 minutes into this show, and I already wanted to shove my face into a vat of coronavirus. I wanted to die. This was so bad. So we pick up right from last week's episode where they just access the transwarp conduit somehow.
Oh, God. Space.com. The penultimate episode of Star Trek Picard will blow your socks off.
Oh, God. Are they still loving it? Well, Space.com, don't they air Picard in Canada? It's on the Space Network up there or something.
Oh.
So they might have a deal with them. But, okay, so we kick off them coming out of transwarp. I still don't understand how they got into transwarp. Because I'm pretty sure, didn't you need like some sort of Borg transponder to get into a transwarp conduit?
Probably, but you're thinking about this and they're not.
Yeah, like you can't just have a regular run-of-the-mill ship run into the transwarp because that would defeat the whole point of having a transwarp conduit for the Borg. Because wasn't that like a core of part of Voyager's arc of like trying to get access to the transwarp conduit. They couldn't just show up. And they had Seven of I on there, who should know how to do all that, because apparently she does here. So, anyways, they blow into a transwarp conduit. Romulan buddy in a fighter craft blows into a transwarp conduit. The transwarp conduit nearly destroys Rios' ship and the other ship because, I don't know, it just shakes around a little bit. And then the transwarp conduit drops them right onto the planet that they were looking for. And I have here in my notes that transwarp doesn't work like the goddamn TARDIS.
It does because they want to write Doctor Who rather than Star Trek.
You've mentioned that before, but this is the first time where I have so many Doctor Who things in my notes. If the transwarp let's look at this, I guess, a little scientifically. Let's say that transwarp conduits work this way.
Mm-hmm.
Why the fuck would the Borg have a battle of Wolf 359? Why the hell would the Borg transwarp somewhere into the Alpha Quadrant and then make their way to Sector 001 to assimilate Earth and risk being blown up by the entire Armada? If you had a transwarp conduit, why couldn't you show up at Earth? Which I guess Voyager ruins this as well, because Voyager transwarps right to Earth, remember, in their finale.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that's because they were going from the conduit to...
They were like being flung out or something. It's still stupid there, but this just makes it... This adds to the stupidness of how we're downplaying the Borg to being just stupid. Okay, so let's say that the transwarp conduit flowed right by this planet. Sure, why the fuck not? We're in the Alpha Quadrant. The Borg are everywhere, apparently. We know that. Except they're not, because they're fucking destroyed. Why would you go to this planet if there's a transwarp conduit there? Maybe they didn't know. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Regardless, transwarp is stupid now. And transwarp is... I understand why they're using it like this. And I guarantee you, if Picard continues or Star Trek continues under Kurtzman, that the warp scale that can't be broken is over, and we have to move into the transwarp scale simply because you need it.
It's completely screwed.
That's what they're... I honestly think that's what they're doing it. Star Trek itself has already messed with transwarp, even going back to the original films. Remember the Excelsior project was a transwarp?
The Great Experiment.
The Great Experiment that failed. Mm-hmm. So the people behind Star Trek have really already had in mind breaking of that warp 10 barrier into something, which of course is fine in theory. But when your main bad guy is using it, and that gives him the edge, you now downplay the Borg as nothing more than an annoyance, right? The race of creatures that literally laid waste to most of the universe that they travel through are just now an annoyance. Yeah. So that's bad. So we pull out of the transwarp conduit, and a Star Wars space battle ensues. Between Rios' ship and Romulan boy's ship.
And some fucking flowers.
The flowers are coming. But we get a little shooty shoot. We get a little flying maneuvers. And I mentioned Star Wars specifically because it is the Star Wars space battle, right? All the space battles in Star Wars, where everyone knows this, were modeled after World War II dogfights, right? Essentially, a lot of them were superimposed over old war footage, right, and built around it.
Yeah,
because and that's fine. That's what George Lucas was trying to do, right?
He was doing something out of love for all these, like old war movies.
He didn't hide it. That's what he was doing. But now we have Star Trek here doing Star Wars dogfight battles, hitting brakes, doing loop-de-loops like this is fucking Top Gun. Just defying the laws of physics established by Star Trek and all of their ships.
I'm surprised they didn't toss in a Star Fox reference.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing
stuff. Do a barrel roll.
I mean, you got shuttlecraft that couldn't do stuff like this, and it's just, it's stupid. So they get into a little scuffle, and they do a little shoots against each other. And then apparently Picard and his buddies and his Rios' ship do some damage. And Narek over there in his little ship is about to die because his, oh no, he's about to blow up. What do we do? Picard gives his little Picard speech saying, something or other. Like
just let him die. There's a difference between killing somebody in a war and
there's
being
difference
able to help
between
them
us
or
and
not.
them. You know, we save lives or some crap like that. Some ideological bullshit, which is nice, but interesting enough, he's totally wrong in this point.
No, yeah, in this point,
let
him.
So he
let
has
him fucking
done.
Go.
Yeah, so in TNG, Picard has made these sorts of speeches before, right? Like, it's this isn't who we are. This isn't the way we do things. We stand for something, right? And then the episode would continue or finish and prove that he was correct.
You remember that season 1 episode with the drug dealers?
Yes.
That's a very good example of that.
And as an audience, you're looking at Picard going, no, dude, no, you're not. No, they're right. Fucking blow him up or like arrest him or do something. But then at the end of the episode, he's correct. And we go, oh, okay. His values, his core, the core of who he is, came through and he was right. And now we've all learned something. He's not right here.
No.
He's absolutely wrong. And by letting Narek live, it'll come back to bite him in the ass again. And that annoyed me because you get the idea of Star Trek right there in that little moment, right? Because that is a very Picard-ish thing to say.
But it takes a hard left turn and screws you.
Yeah, but it comes to bite him in the ass because as captain of a starship, he would be correct. And in the situation, the way everything's going, the show clearly shows that he is wrong.
Well, that's been typical throughout the entire show. Every time he makes one of these big, gestures, he's wrong.
They're literally tearing him down. Every time he does a Picard thing, the show shows you that, hey, he's out of touch, old man, and he's wrong. That really pissed me off this time. So as that happened, of course, they don't even wait till like later in the episode. They don't even wait to give you like a sense of something. Picard's fucking wrong as he's saying those words because Narek's ship was apparently using a hologram cloak or something to fake his injuries, and he's behind them now, shooting again. So if you thought that was like in smart writing of Star Trek or just smart writing in general, you would let that play out and then come back to that. That's your foreshadowing moment. Boom, Act 3 comes around, and you prove that Picard was right or was wrong, regardless. But you don't do it right away. And remember, we've talked about this before, how this is lowest common denominator writing, treating the audience, all of us, like we're stupid. I've talked about this several episodes of saying something happens, and it's answered within that same scene.
Yeah, there's
as
no
opposed to
room.
letting it breathe. And this is the perfect example of this. Picard says, we save lives. This is who we are. And literally as he's saying this, Narek's ship comes back online and starts shooting the fuck out of them, saying he's wrong. That's such horrendous writing. So they're about
Star Trek.
Yeah, it's not Star Trek at all. So they're about to get fucked up right here. And then the transwarp conduit opens up again, and the Borg cube just bamps the fuck in. Fully repaired now. Granted, it's only been a couple hours, right? Probably, since they've gone into this transwarp conduit. So the Borg are already here. Seven was leading them. And I just have here the Borg bamfed in, totally ignoring all the clearly still alive Borg that they left floating in space.
Oh, shit, yeah.
We talked about that last week.
That's right.
That Borg breathe in space, right? They got all ejected and the Romulans bailed.
Well, apparently not these ones, but...
Yeah, the Romulans bailed, and then 7 of 9 activates a transwarp thing. I was confused. I'm like, how did they beat the Romulans? Or the Romulans, I guess they're going the old-fashioned way. But regardless of the matter, 7 shows up because she wants to save Picard. She's there to help. But thousands and thousands and thousands of Borg are now just floating around in Romulan space, activated.
And they're not like reclaimed Borg. They're just straight up like deactivated.
They turned them back on. She activated them. They're not XBs. They're still in the regeneration pods, just turned off. She turned them all on, and as the second that happened, the Romulan girl let them all into space. So you have potentially hundreds of thousands of activated Borg floating around the Alpha Quadrant right now. That
could easily just latch onto a ship or whatever, and
it doesn't matter how long the rest of this episode lasts in real time.
In fact,
they're in space, floating around, moving their arms and legs. They're all scattering, and they're so small. Remember, bodies in space for Star Trek that you can't really target them and just shoot them down. let alone have the fleet, because the fleet's already gone. The Romulans are already gone. They're just floating around in the Alpha Quadrant now. That's going to cause some fucking shit, I'm telling you. That's a stupid thing. So,
oh, yeah, that's stupid.
The Borg cube shows up. We're like, oh, cool, big old Borg ship. Granted, it looks cool. CGI, a lot of money's been spent. Looks great.
It's a Borg cube. It looks exactly like itself.
And then we pull another Doctor Who. And I wrote here, giant Doctor Who flowers in space show up to attach themselves and drain the ships of all their power. Giant space orchids.
That's some TOS shit.
Giant space flowers show up.
Straight up TOS shit.
And I want to make this clear.
And not a good episode.
And I want to make this really clear to everyone listening that this episode doesn't explain what the fuck these things are. They're just there, and apparently the synthetic people just grew them or some shit.
It just works.
It just works. There. Right?
They just work.
We had this conversation before of how if they showed up to the planet, maybe there'd be like some sort of defensive grid, right? The speculation I would have had is maybe they're cloaked, right? Because if you're trying to hide a community, it would probably be telling that something's on the planet if you have 10,000 space batteries up there pointing away from you to shoot things down, right? Oh, there's probably something here. The safest bet would be have a very small orbital defense grid, maybe on a moon, maybe on some asteroids floating around, and cloak your base. Nope, not cloaked. Totally out in the open. They just decided that the smartest move would be to build 3 or 4 space fucking orchids.
Todd Howard flowers.
Yeah. It's fucking Encounter at Farpoint type shit. It's just like space jellyfish. Just space orchids.
We got Audrey 2s.
Yeah, but not like a race, not like creatures like Encounter at Farpoint where they were actually jellyfish creature things. No, they just grew them. They just fucking grew up. And these flowers, all they do is they grab onto you and they drain you of power, which then, you get dragged to the planet, killing the flowers in the process. So they're not the smartest things in the world. Couple things.
They're kind of a one and done thing, huh?
Yeah, they're a one and done thing. Not very effective. A couple of things on that. Rios' ship and the Romulan ship totally get if you're going to play the space flower thing, right? Because it literally engulfs them. We're talking about massive space flowers, gigantic space flowers. And so it like scoops up Rios' ship and they go dark. And Rios finally gets to use his lighter that he plays around with because he's a smoker. Just for that scene, like you said.
I told you. Yeah.
He has the only reason that
is so that they could do that little flashy flash thing.
And I don't know if we talked about this on episode 1 of the podcast or just between us, but we talked about how stupid it was that he smokes and what possible reason could there be other than it to be cool. Here's your reason. So in one scene in the finale, boom, he can flash that Zippo lighter like he's cool.
Because they don't have any other means of illumination.
They don't have flashlights. They don't have any sort of light except the one lighter. We're talking about the future here. What are you going to do with space flowers? So they grab them. They take away their power and they start crash landing. I get that with Rios and the Romulan ship because they're small. We've already talked about them being small.
Oh, yeah.
They do this to a fully functional Borg cube. I'm trying to recall back. I don't think like a dozen orchids grab the cube. I think just the one attaches to like the side of the cube. Can literally every fucking race in the universe now just fucking destroy the Borg like they're nobody's business?
Yes.
Have the Borg just been degraded to the point of cannon fodder? Because that's what I am so angry because that's one of the coolest. Not only one of the coolest bad guys in like Star Trek, not only the coolest bad guys in TNG, one of the coolest bad guys in just like the history of anything. The Borg. They're literally the scariest thing possible. They're just like automaton humans under control. They don't care about shit. They just consume and adapt and take, and they're a nightmare and you couldn't stop them. And here we are like a dozen years later and just apparently anybody with a fucking flower garden can take down the goddamn Borg, and I am pissed. I am legitimately pissed that you took one of the coolest characters, races in science fiction, and just degraded them to the point of idiocy.
Super Mario could beat them.
Anybody can fucking beat the Borg now. The Borg have been the scapegoat this entire fucking series. Romulans just shoot them. Romulans shoot them out into space. Oh, we refixed the Borg cube. Oh, cool. You're here? Oh, no, sorry. There's a fucking space flower. You're all dead now. The Borg are just now a goddamn punching bag, and this so pisses me off. So I'm already blisteringly angry, and we haven't even got to the cold open yet. So they lose power, and Picard goes loopy, and I'm not sure what happened.
Brain tumor.
Yeah, something. He just starts saying gibberish, or he starts saying something random, and I was like, uh-oh. In my head, I'm like, oh, okay, the Borg influence is back. The cube is here. He doesn't know if they're good or bad. Maybe, he's having a vision of Locutus. No, it's brain tumor. Because they check him out, they set him up, and then Aggie is in sickbay, which is stupid because apparently now the sickbay has a skylight because the hull retracts in that area. Apparently, she says, even though they're in the mouth of a orchid, they got a nice skylight. She has a tricorder, an older fashioned tricorder, and scans Picard and finds out that it has a brain injury. They have tricorders. They don't have flashlights, mind you. They have tricorders. Okay, I don't understand, but whatever. So he sits down with everyone and says, "Hey, everyone, I got a brain anomaly. I'm dying. Don't treat me like an old man that's dying." Hit cold open. And that's how we start.
Just infuriating.
How we start. That's all 10 minutes, maybe a little bit less, right to the cold open. That's how we're introduced to the big finale. We fuck up how transwarp works. We got a Star Wars battle. We got Picard being dumb and being wrong, and then we got a ruination of the Borg. And I'm already furious, and I'm furious again just thinking back on this. So, hard cut. Everyone's crashed on the planet. Everyone survives. But they're not getting off of there. So they decide to break up into groups, and they decide, well, let's go to the Borg cube first because we got friends there. Soji says essentially the smart move. Who the fuck cares? Good riddance. They're the fucking Borg.
Yeah.
And then Picard, she's literally, the show's playing off like she's wrong, even though she's correct from her point of view. She doesn't know these people. The last time she saw the Borg is when she got activated there, right? And so she says, can we not go over there? They're shitty people. They're fucking Borg. And then Picard gives another speech about, we got friends over there and we got to check on them and some other bullshit. So they head over. And then he's
actually right, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. So then I get pissed again because they get to the Borg cube, which is the same Borg set, just lit differently. It's not really damaged. They get told that Hugh's dead.
They get told that Hugh's dead off screen.
Off screen. And they move on like they never even knew the fucking guy. Instantly.
Picard
and you know
gets
what?
One line about, I can't believe he's dead. And then
off screen they get told as they're walking. And it's back to business. And I wrote here, they get told Hugh is dead and they move on like they never knew the guy. And I put in parentheses here, which they fucking didn't.
The only one that did was Picard.
The only one that knew Hugh to any extent was Soji because she worked with him a little bit, right? And Picard because he had he was with him in TNG for a couple episodes.
And apparently 7 of 9 because they're all, buddy.
And so Picard only knew him here in his own series for 2 or 3 lines running away.
Yeah.
So they didn't even interact more. I mean, Elnor has interacted with Hugh more than Picard has interacted with Hugh. And so everyone is just like, well, fuck it. Hugh's dead. Let's move on. It's fine. No honors. No, like, let's toast the man. No, where is he? Anything can be done. No. Hey, Picard, Hugh's dead.
How many times?
Oh, well, that fucking sucks.
Over the course of
this franchise. To be fair, Picard's right, because he only met him that one time last 2 episodes ago for a second. He's like, oh.
How many times over this series have they had like a, this character died and they were clearly not, main cast or whatever, but we're sending them off,
They moved on like Hugh meant nothing to anyone, and it really aggravated me that they just move on. And then Seven is showing Picard around the ship, and he's like, hey, is everyone all right? And there's a bunch of XBs around, and then, of course, it's the same XB from the last time Picard was on the cube who says,
Locutus.
What's up, Locutus? Yo, Locutus, what up, dude, again? Same fucking thing. And we spent like 20 minutes making fun of it the last time.
I just had a thought. Tasha Yar had a better send-off than Hugh did.
He was totally wasted. And as soon as he showed up in the show, I was like, whoa, he's acting really well. This is cool. And then he's fucking tossed aside because he's not a main character. He is a means to an end to these people, and it pisses me off. And so we have more of a connection with fucking Locutus dude now, because he's now apparently a recurring character who just is there to say, what up, Locutus? How you doing? Hey, do you remember me? I was in the collective when you were Locutus. I know you now. None of that makes any fucking sense.
There was a joke on an episode of American Dad where Roger was doing some like thing where he's like some college kid or whatever, and off screen someone would always scream Niedermeyer and just chuck a beer at him. And it happened like 3 times. That's the same level as this. Except it's not funny.
Yeah, there's no point to bring him back to do that unless you're trying to make a really stupid joke at a really inappropriate time. Remember, he just got informed that Hugh is dead. Apparently his friend is now dead. And then and within the next scene, you just have an XB going, what up, Locutus? Hit me with that beer, bro. Break. It's just so fucking sad. And so the Borg cube's all fucked up. And Picard says, hey, what are those XBs doing? Because apparently Picard's a fucking idiot. And Seven says, well, they're fixing, the food replicators because we got to eat, you dummy. And then he goes, well, if you fix the food replicators, can you get long-range sensors back online? And she's like, yup, no biggie, yo. And I just wanted to make clear that long-range sensors are probably one of the hardest things to ever get back online in the world of Star Trek, because that shit's
shields.
Those 2 things are always fucking broken and always come back at the worst possible time, like the last second. And she's just like, "Oh, you want long-range sensors? Fuck yeah! Well, how about, hey, Picard, I got a little warpy warp pod thing. Can we all get the fuck out of here right now?"
Yeah, that'd be great.
No.
Wait, that's right. They have the stupid fucking Sicarian gate.
They got a gate. They can take them to Starbase 12 to get the fleet, but they never talk about it. It's a one and done. Never gets brought up or talked about ever again, and it never will, I guarantee you.
Fucking stupid.
So she says, yeah, we can get, I can get these, the old Borgy boys to get together and fix long-range sensors. Cut to the next scene. It's Rios and Raffi plugging something in, getting long-range sensors back online, not the Borg. It's Rios and Raffi, who have never been on a Borg cube in their entire life, or know anything about them, are in the cube, plugging shit in, activating long-range sensors of a Borg death cube. And no one says a thing. Picard just got done saying, hey, Seven, can you get me long-range sensors? I was like, okay, that makes sense. Why don't you, the next scene, you got a bunch of XBs around trying to get long-range sensors on and make Picard uncomfortable and have to, like, see himself as Locutus again with they're all staring at him. I'm like, boom, you got yourself a built-in emotional plug right there. There's a little emotional sting, a little flashback to Picard. You got something interesting. Nope. You got fucking no XBs, no Seven, no Picard, just Raffi and Rios knowing how to work, and not just work, mind you, how to repair long range sensors on a fucking Borg cube, and I was out. I was fucking done.
Hey, Seven, can you stand around and do nothing?
Yeah. Oh, your Borg cube, the most powerful destructive force in the universe, is broken. No, I got it. I'm a single druggy mom. I got this. Don't worry. I'm a cool guy captain that smokes. I know where long range sensors are. I know what this big old fat cable does. I'm just gonna plug it in right here. Fuck you, Star Trek, and this goddamn show. That was so stupid. So stupid. It was fucking ridiculous. It's almost as ridiculous as like warping one of us to the world of Star Trek and saying, "Hey, fix the warp reactor. You got 30 seconds." I'd be like, "Well, fuck you. I don't even know where the fuck I am right now, buddy. We're all dead." That's so stupid. So they fix long range sensors by plugging in a giant underwater sea cable looking thing to a wall. Because when Borg ships, when they fall apart, it's just some tubes come out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like fixing your liquid cooled PC. Just make sure that little surgical tube gets back in and we're good to go.
The nanomachines will fix it.
Yeah, the nanomachines will fix it. I just got to hook this hose up to a fucking air compressor. Fuck you.
Nanomachines, son. Nanomachines.
And then they fix it in a GIF. I literally wrote here, they fix it in a jiffy, and then on screen pops up 219 warbirds.
218. Actually.
Oh, 218 warbirds.
It's a precise number.
They know where to look for these warbirds. They know where they're coming from. And there's 218 Romulan warbirds.
That look like shit.
Warbirds. Not Romulan ships. They clearly say Romulan warbirds.
Mm-hmm.
They do look like shit. They look like a kid got his hands on an old Erector set and put things together.
Remember the first time you saw the D-Directs?
Yes.
And it's fucking huge. It's bigger than the Enterprise D.
It shows up like they could hide inside it. You remember when they showed off the upgraded Klingon ships in Star Trek 1, the movie?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not even... And those ships are fucking there just to be blown up. And they get their time in the sun to just pan over this long neck warbird from the Klingon Empire.
And you get that little like drum beat.
And it's just ships that are going to get blown up anyways, but it's like the respect of it here.
Mm-hmm.
Just some CGI triangles. 218 warbirds. I have to ask, where the fuck does a destroyed empire get 218 warbirds? When the Federation's heaviest fleet, I think, ever someplace has been 12 to 13.
Well, how many? I want to say it was like 30-something ships at Wolf 359.
Something like that. Maybe at the maximum 40. when the Borg was bearing down on them and they had to send literally everything they had, and it was only like 30-something, 20-something.
Everything they could call back in time.
And it was only like 20-something ships.
Yeah.
The Battle of the Binary Stars, there was only a couple dozen ships there. But here, an empire that has been wiped out by the Hobus supernova has 218 Romulan warbirds.
Well, you can thank the Remans for that. Fuck them.
I'm sure you can. 218 warbirds that they just built somewhere else and had hanging around. The fuck warbirds. And I was clear on that because it's not just like a ragtag fleet, right? It would have been, you know what I thought is like, oh, you know what would have been cool at that moment? If you had like a couple hundred Romulan ships, but it was like the ending of Rise of Skywalker. And it was just like a bunch of fucking rando ships.
Whatever mothball shit you could pull
Whatever
out.
mothball, like freighters and frigates and like destroyers and like old warbirds from TOS era, like we saw that one episode. Stolen ships. Maybe you have a couple like modified Ferengi. You know what I mean? Like to show that the Zhat Vash are fucked up because the Romulan people were destroyed in that supernova, but are serious about like, this is their end game. Fuck everything else. We're going to take anything that flies.
We haven't like seen fucking Ferengi ships in like forever, unless you play Star Trek Online.
We're not gonna see a goddamn thing anymore. That warbird from TOS era was the one thing we got, and that was it. So they got 219 warbirds, and we cut to commercial. Oh no, we don't cut to commercial right there. We cut to commercial right after that because we have one more scene of Picard and 7 of 9.
Mm-hmm.
Because now
And
they're
Elnor.
leaving. They're now leaving the Borg cube to head to the synth place because now they know their friends are dead and they're cool with it. And I wrote here, dying Picard sets up 7 of 9 for her own spin-off show before leaving.
With special guest Elnor. Because
So
they need you more than I do.
Yeah, so it's
what
now
the fuck
Elnor.
Did he do this entire fucking series?
He didn't do anything. He chopped up one person, and there was a whole episode dedicated to him. He was fucking wasted potential. Poor little Legolas guy.
You could have cut him completely and absolutely nothing.
If you cut Elnor totally out of this, you wouldn't have lost a goddamn thing because his arc of being someone Picard left behind on that planet with the ladies it has zero impact on the script or on the story.
Oh, it's worse than that. You could cut him out entirely because he's a sword guy in a land of fucking space guns.
Phasers, yes.
Yeah.
His character means absolutely nothing unless they were setting him up for the spinoff. And he literally goes like, he's dying. Everyone knows he's dying because Elnor even says, you're dying. And he literally goes to 7 and goes, because remember, her line was when she came on, it's like, oh, Picard's trying to save the universe again. And she goes, are you trying to save the universe again here as a follow-up? And he goes, no, I'm leaving that up to you.
They keep using that line, saving the universe or saving the galaxy.
Saving the galaxy again.
Fucking how often did that actually happen?
Not in movies. Maybe a couple times. Maybe you can count probably on one hand.
Yeah.
Probably on one hand. A lot less than Kirk's era.
I mean, TNG ran for what, 100 and some odd episodes?
Yeah, 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years, 26 episodes a season. So
the destruction of the universe. Deep Space Nine had more. Cisco had more responsibility of that because he was a prophet chosen by the prophets, and literally had to face the head of the Dominion War there. So he actually did more. Kirk did more, but that's because it was a monster of the week that could destroy the universe, sort of thing.
Almost every week, yeah.
But Picard, outside of the first film, he saves all of Earth, not the galaxy, but Earth.
Well, no, that's First Contact.
Yeah, First Contact. He does that.
Generations. He just
saves
stops
some people.
Generations. He just stops Soren from.
Yeah, he just shoots Soren. Nothing big. Wouldn't have destroyed the universe. Plus, the ribbon is still out there anyways. Probably destroying planets that it comes into contact with naturally, but that's okay. Insurrection. He saves 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
Nemesis, he just blows up a warbird.
He stops a big old ship with like 72 disruptors.
He stops a warbird whose captain was going to die anyways, and he just wanted to shoot up Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So less
and even
than
then he might not have made it.
Saving the galaxy less than the 5 fingers on your hand. I bet you. No, that's only there to set up 7 for this line again because they're softballing things. So that when she says it here, she can say, I'm leaving that up to you now because this is now Mortal Kombat Mythologies, and the next season is going to be Star Trek 7 of 9. And I bet you Picard's going to be dead. And season 2 is going to be 7, and then season 3 is going to be fucking Star Trek Elnor, and then Star Trek Brunt, and all this shit. So he leaves to set up 7 for her own show, and she's all teary-eyed, even though they've only met apparently once. I think this is probably the 2 or 3 times, maybe. I'll give them that, but they've only had a couple of words of exchangement, and everyone's sad. So they leave to find the synths, and things gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
Things get worse. They find the synths, and I have here. Do you remember that episode? I think it was season 1 or 2. I think it was 1. It was a Roddenberry era episode of TNG where they take shore leave on that planet that looks like it's at the La Brea tar pits. It's just like grass and trees, and everyone's in like silky stuff, and like Wesley steps on the grass.
Yes, the planet of Wesley, killing Wesley and fucking.
The fucking people, and Wesley like dies, is put on trial because he stepped on the grass. And it was such a Roddenberry episode because they had no idea what this planet was, so they beamed
straight
down
up looks
there.
like that. You're right.
It looks exactly. They're wearing the same clothes. They're wearing, the compound is tiny, and I'm just like, who's gonna step on the grass and get killed here?
It took me a while to realize a lot of them were wearing gold makeup.
Only some of them.
Why do all of these characters? Why do all of these people look like shit? Oh, it's terrible gold makeup.
It's terrible data makeup, like real bad, not the same color even.
No, it's straight up like gold fleck kind of stuff.
Yes,
the main one we interact with.
Yeah, that's my next note. I just see they show up and they see tons of gold data people running around.
Mm-hmm. And like then, fucking, I don't know, like Indian whatever shit.
Yeah, it's like a hippie compound or something. Yeah. And everyone's like happy and free and cool. And so they walk through and they're all smiling. Everyone's cool. And then they start talking to Soji like, oh, look, you're back. And that's cool. And happy to see you. And everyone's smiling. And then out walks goddamn Noonien Aren Indio Soong. We talked about the stupidest endings possible for this arc of this show. And I don't think once we ever talked about the possibility of another Soong being around. Because
we did not. Stupid. Because it was so obviously dumb.
Not because it's not possible, but because it would have been so aggressively stupid. I don't think you or I, as Star Trek fans, could have even said it with a straight face.
No, I couldn't.
And it's not even like a Shyamalan twist here that we're talking about. We're talking about like so stupid that if it happened, I would rather just murder myself than say it because it's so dumb.
It's literally on the level of, hey, don't you remember me? I'm this guy's son. No, I don't remember you. We never saw you before. You weren't important.
We don't know you. We've never been introduced by Soong. The only time Soong's been mentioned for non-Star Trek fans in this series is that he created Data, I think once or twice it's been mentioned.
Yeah.
TNG, we already saw him. He was an old man and died.
Fuck, it would have been better if you just said, oh, he figured out how to transfer his consciousness to another shitty fucking android.
We saw him in Enterprise as another Soong, as a descendant. God. And it's the joke of just like, hey, how do we get Brent Spiner back? Fucking just make him a Soong.
Mm-hmm.
Goddamn Soong. Another fucking Soong that apparently everybody seems to know about. Because Picard was not shocked at all that Soong came out to say hi and greet him.
Everybody was shocked less than we were that this was...
Yeah, Picard says... Oh, I remember that face. And he's like, oh, yes, I'm Data. If he got old and fat, ha, ha, ha. And that's it. Like, everyone in the universe knew that Soong had a son. And I have here a question for you, because I wrote it down here as I was rewatching this. Was he ever mentioned, ever, that Dr. Soong had a son?
No.
That's
not as far as I can tell.
I don't think it was ever mentioned that Dr. Soong had any sort of family or son because he was alone, and that's the reason he built Data and Lore, and I guess B4.
Yeah, and his wife left him.
And his wife left him.
So he built an android of her.
Who the fuck is he? Where did he come from? And why the fuck does he look like Brent Spiner if he's your son? And I stopped.
I have a question for you.
I stopped and walked away from the show because of how stupid this was.
I have a question for you.
Go for it.
I haven't watched any of the Ready Room shit, and I don't intend to.
I only watched that one.
They've had Brent Spiner on. How jazzed is he about this? Like, is it the sort of fake thing where it's like,
yes,
oh, I have to be, upbeat and happy about it, even though
everyone that was on that show that I saw, like Riker was on there, or William Frakes, who seemed super genuinely excited about everything. And when they cut to Brent Spiner, he was just like, they asked me back, I came back. He was just like, whatevs. I'm not doing anything. Paycheck sounds good.
Because it seems to me like when I was watching this episode, I'm like, is he just phoning it in here, man?
I feel like he's phoning it in because he knows how stupid this is,
yeah.
and that
You can't
there's
look at
no
this and
original
not.
way to bring him back in. He's like, hey, we're going to bring you back for Picard. Oh, cool. What are you going to do? We're going to have you flashback as Data. Okay. And we're just
going
going to
to
make you
digitally
another
do the
Soong.
makeup so you don't have
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
And then we're going to make you another Soong, like we've already done 3 other times.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. That seems original. I'm glad, we're taking things in a new direction. Remember the whole thing about this show's plot? The reason that Patrick Stewart came back was because it moved things forward and how different it was and how fresh it was. And here the fuck you are playing cliche checkers again, doing the thing you did in TNG, doing
Enterprise.
the thing you did in Enterprise, doing the only thing that you can do with Brent Spiner is just make him a Soong or a Data. Fuck you. Fuck you, Alex Kurtzman. I hope you get fired. I hope the reports are true that the head of CBS over there is not buying the fake bullshit from the media praising this show and wants you to fucking canned by summertime.
Sherry Redstone, please make my
if
dreams
I
come
don't
true.
know, Sherry, if you're listening to this, God knows you're probably not.
Probably not, but
the reports are that you don't believe the bullshit that we talked about earlier about how everyone's jacking off to Picard because it's back. Get rid of this guy.
From what I
think you're the only
understand,
sane person there because you just have had it with Kurtzman. The last report I heard was he was so fucking pissed that he had to get Section 31 greenlit just in case he got fired.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a producer on that. Fuck you, Kurtzman. Fuck what you've done to Star Trek. You just turned it into a shitty Star Wars. You didn't even turn it to...
He's been doing it for 10 years. You didn't even turn it into
good Star Wars. You didn't even turn it into Star Wars from like the 70s and 80s. You turned it into fucking modern day Star Wars.
He did it into sequel trilogy Star Wars.
This is bullshit. This is we spent all season retconning all this bullshit, changing what Star Trek means in the TNG era, and then you get to the end and it's just like, hey, guess what? We're just gonna pull an old TNG episode and here's another Soong because fucking we're pathetic and we have absolutely no idea what we're doing and our writing room is just devoid of any fucking ideas. This is the original idea that brought Patrick Stewart out to do another one. Bullshit.
Well, we're still one episode out. They might just pull something out of their asses.
So we get introduced and then we slow things down a little bit. And Soong introduces us to his synth people. Isn't explained how they're made or what the point is. No talk of neurons. No talk of data at all, really. No explanation given how they created this. All we find out is that Bruce Maddox didn't do a goddamn thing.
Well, Bruce was a substrate man.
Yeah, he was a substrate man. He just showed up.
Indigo Soong was the hardware guy, but he did everything. Back into it.
And Bruce Maddox just served as a nothing, just was there to cause some problems. And then we meet Soji. And I don't mean our Soji. I mean Gold Data Soji.
I forget what her name is.
I don't give a fuck what her name is. I'm just going to call her Gold Soji from now on.
Oh, here we go.
Because she's the stupidest fucking thing ever. And if we didn't ruin the Borg enough, if we didn't destroy other races, the Romulans, bad enough this series, why the fuck don't we just go and destroy the Vulcan people just in one swift fucking motion? Because what's the point? Why have any respect for the past? Why have any care for this property? Why don't we just fucking destroy the Vulcans while we're at it? Even though they're fucking not even involved in this series or in this show. Why not? Why not we just bring them out of mothballs to destroy their entire culture? Because Gold Soji comes over, says, "Hey, what's up, everybody? How nice to meet you." And she asks, "Our real Soji, you've completed your mission or some bullshit like that?" And she says, "Yes. We're all the fucking the end of the world bullshit." Right? And then Aggie says, "Hey, I killed Maddox. I'm sorry, but I saw the fucking end of the world because the Romulans are going to come and kill us." So Gold Soji says, "Hey, what'd be a real good idea? Let's take that stuff that's in your head Let's pull it out and let's take a look at it. Right?
But how?
We're all smart people. Why don't we scan your mind and let's logically break this down and see what the vision actually is, because so far we've only seen bits and pieces. That would be the fucking logical thing to do. That would be a smart thing to do. That would be something that a very advanced artificial intelligence or synthetic like Data would suggest. Let's look at that. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
No,
nope.
no,
Nope.
no.
Nope. Nope.
Mm-mm.
She says, "Hey, Aggie, mind if I give you a fucking Vulcan mind meld?"
And their explanation from our secondary Sung is, oh, she's a very big fan of the Vulcans.
She's read a lot of books.
And I sent you a series of messages.
She read a lot of books.
How is an android telepathic?
She read a lot of books. I want to fucking kill myself. I think it was this point in time where I messaged you, I'd rather just beat my dick with a meat tenderizer than continue to watch the show. And I stopped. I had to stop. I have never had to do that before. Stop and walk away from a show and go, nope, can't do this right now.
I've been doing it for several episodes. This one I actually just went through because you kind of live messaged me about every single awful thing. I could not
physically finish that part.
And I actually had to stop at that part.
I almost puked in my mouth out of anger. I literally almost anger puked all over my desk because of how fantastically livid I was. She is a Data. She is a female Data who knows the Vulcan mind meld. She's apparently telepathic, and she apparently has the ability to suck shit out of your mind. Something that nobody has ever been shown to be able to do except the Vulcan people with training.
You know what is
partially telepathic?
You know what is a Vulcan thing that they could probably do that wouldn't make us rage because Data actually did it in an episode? The nerve pinch.
Yes, the nerve pinch. Spock himself. They've said, "Hey, this is something we learn. This is something we learn to do."
Because it's all about like they're much stronger than humans.
Yes, we're stronger.
Super duper
control. We know how to precisely place it. And there's been lots of jokes made, just like, oh, you do it like this or like this, and some other like Data has been able to do it because of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that is part of the the Vulcan culture, but also something they've taught themselves. Mm-hmm. It's not inherent.
It doesn't require telepathy. It's
the Vulcan mind meld
control
is not a fucking USB to the back of the head and a Wi-Fi protocol. It is literally telepathy from physical touch in a certain manner that can extract information, and it's very dangerous to do. And fucking Gold Soji, who's never met another human being in her goddamn life, says, "Let me mind meld you, bro," and she does. And at that point, I was done with this fucking series. 100%. But it gets worse. It gets worse because she pulls the prophecy from her head. Mm-hmm. And remember, up to this point, the prophecy has been the Zhat Vash. The entire reason that they're existing, remember, is because the synthetics are coming to destroy us. We hate synthetics and we only use binary computers and stuff because if the synths came, they would uprise, get out of control, and the destroyer would come to blow everyone up. And because this is Star Trek, and because this is shitty writing, and because this is a game of cliche checkers, that was only part of the prophecy. They were only partially correct.
Your stupid meat brain can't possibly comprehend.
Your dumb little Romulan brains couldn't comprehend that, even though the entire point of that 8th planet stupid thing was to tell people about what's happening. No. You small-minded little Romulan dummies couldn't figure this out. In fact, the prophecy itself and
this one pissed me off.
Itself
mm-hmm.
States that the gods that created everything are actually fucking synthetics. And they're going to come to save the synths when they're ready, not come to destroy them. They're just going to come and save them. But I actually had to pause it, put on subtitles, and write this down, because when that happened, this is exactly what was said. And I quote, "We are an alliance of synthetics that live beyond time and space and waiting for synths to call to us to come help them." And then I added at the end, to kill the pink skins.
Yes.
That is word for word what was stated when Gold Soji pulled out the little prophecy. And that the destroyer, that the creators of the universe and everything were an alliance of synthetic life forms who live beyond time and space, waiting for synthetics to call to them to come help. That was the log line of this entire series. So for those that don't know, a log line is essentially your pitch, right? And you want 2 or 3 sentences that sums up exactly what you're trying to do. And the point of this whole series is to tell us that there is an alliance of synthetics, a conglomerate, a consortium, a confederation, a federation, whatever you want to call it, of synthetics who live beyond time and space. You know, beyond time and space. I'm sure Q's mentioned these things all the time. This magical synthetic race that no one has ever talked about.
Well, you know he's going to be how they get to them, right?
He's got to be involved somehow, because this is fucking stupid. But this is, if you listened, I'm going to read it again. Listen to me and tell me if this sounds like it's from Star Trek or from Doctor Who. An alliance of synthetic life who live beyond space and time, waiting for other synthetics to call to come help them.
Who?
That is, I just read you the synopsis to any goddamn season of Doctor Who and their Cybermen shit.
Pretty much.
I just read you the log line of any Doctor Who episode in the past 10 years. And I had to write subsection here, just like 1A, kill me, this is stupid. That's what it said. This whole fucking thing was that synthetics wouldn't get out of control, wouldn't destroy Mars, wouldn't take over the universe, simply that when synthetics arrive, they would show up, call to their creator gods would come and help them evolve to the next level.
And maybe kill some people on the way.
And apparently evolving to the next level, because it's happened before, is just murdering all life in the universe. Because this has happened before, remember. They've noted it.
This is grimderp.
This is the worst writing. This is the worst bullshit I've ever seen. This is worse than Star Trek, like fan films. And like fan writing. This is bad. This is painfully bad, and it makes everyone look stupid.
Fuck, Ensign Mary Sue was better than this.
Oh, so let's just say that there is another Soong floating around, okay? Let's just say he's there. He's doing work. Clearly someone has to know about him, right? There's got to be records of a Soong. Let's say you're the Zhat Vash. And let's say your prophecy, and I have this written down. Let's say your prophecy is that the universe is going to end by the Destroyer because of synthetic life. You already know Data exists. Already know he exists. You already know B4 exists because you've dealt with him, and Shinzon picked him up. I'm not sure how fucking Shinzon picked up B4 even in the film, but even more so now that shit is evil. So he had him. You know about Dr. Noonien Soong because he's famed throughout the Federation for what he did to create the positronic brain. If you're the Zhat Vash, wouldn't your goal not be to destroy all synthetic life when it shows up? Wouldn't it just to be to destroy the Soong bloodline so it never happens? Because it's been clearly established in Star Trek lore that Data is unique to Soong. And Soong was essentially to the Star Trek universe what Albert Einstein was to the 1940s, like a man 100 years ahead of everyone else, right?
Yeah, he's like Nikola Tesla.
Yes, he's like a Tesla or an Einstein, like a person that clearly should have been coming
Born
around 100 years later is way too advanced for this. If the Zhat Vache's only goal is to prevent the sins from rising, why don't you just take out the bloodline to be safe? It'd be a fucking lot easier than trying to infiltrate Starfleet Command and then covertly blowing up Mars and all this bullshit.
Mm.
None of this makes any fucking sense. And then I wrote here, and things then get stupider.
Of course they do.
Modern Star Trek. Then it got stupider. I literally wrote it in all caps in my pen. And 2 points up, I said, "Kill me, this is stupid." I'm looking at my page. I want to die. If someone came to my home and found this journal, they would just be like, would call an order on me. It's like, "Hey, can we get a wellness check on this guy? I think he's going to murder himself."
We need a psych hold.
I'm concerned I'm going to die. So this is how things get stupider. Aggie goes in to visit with Soong, who's now inside. We see the little table where Soji and them were built and all this stuff, and everything's fine and dandy. They have a conversation. She says, "I'm sorry for killing Bruce Maddox. I was a little crazy." And Soong goes, "You took away a good man, even though he didn't really do anything, but you took away a real light from this universe." And so essentially she's like, "Oh, I want to help you. This is where I want to be. I want to help." And then Soong says, "Come here and take a look at this." "Come here and look at this, lady." He peels back a little blanket or a little sheet, and we get a Westworld robot. It's a synthetic with clear skin, and it looks like some sort of prototype. It literally looks like a Westworld robot. If you watch Westworld on HBO, it looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
And he says, or Aggie says, "What is that?" And he says, "I'm working on brain transfer, transferring the mind because I'm getting old." Right. And the suggestion is that he wants to continue to work again. Another sci-fi cliche. The super smart scientist wants to live forever and becomes evil in the process.
It's a sci-fi cliche that TNG did in season.
It's a sci-fi cliche that was done in like the 40s and 50s with like the screaming skull or the lady head thing.
No, but I mean specifically TNG did an episode of this.
Absolutely. I think every series of Star Trek has done some crazy smart dude that wants to live forever.
They go to see some guy, and it's like Dr. Pulaski. It was season 2. It was season 2 because it was Dr. Pulaski, and they couldn't drop her off because she doesn't like transporters.
Oh yeah, she's like the McCoy of that.
You know what? I trust Dr. Solar to do it. So they send Dr. Solar, and she's like, "Yeah, he's fucking dying. I'm gonna and he transfers his brain into Data, and Data starts acting like an asshole because the guy in question was kind of an asshole.
All of this has been done before, and so Aggie says, "Oh, look, that's your golem, right? It's essentially a ready-to-go creature without a mind. It's an old tale. The golem was essentially." The story of the golem was like one of the first films ever made. Like it's one of the lost films.
Oh yeah, wasn't it German Impressionist film?
Yes, yeah. Like the very first film ever made was just like
there's little bits of it left over, but
like we see like a couple stills or something of this film. And so this is an old story. And so this is setting up two things. Both of them stupid, but it's setting up two things. So I talked to you about the first one. And I'll ask the audience this. Do you guys out there remember the film X-Men 3, The Last Stand? The worst of the Star Trek or the X-Men films. The one Bryan Singer wasn't involved in because he was off doing Superman. If you remember that film, God help you if you do.
I told you the only thing I remembered was Kelsey Grammer as Beast.
That's the only thing I remember too.
That and
In
like
that
the
film,
Juggernaut bitch.
Patrick
The
Stewart
Juggernaut
as
bitch.
Professor X dies pretty
Mhm.
early on.
Phoenix kills him.
Phoenix blowed him up. And we're not talking just murders him, like into itty bitty pieces. And Magneto's like, oh, fuck.
Oh, shit.
And so
I'm
they
getting
go-
out of here. Yeah.
They go the rest of the film, big battle, fight scene, whatever. At the beginning of the film, Charles is talking to Dr. Moira McTaggart over Skype or whatever the fuck they use in that film. And they're talking about their research. He says some shit, and she's talking about, oh, I've got this person, like a mutant or something, that
Who's like in a coma or something.
who's just in a vegetative state. He's got no mind. Something happened, and she's doing research on him because it was a mutant of some kind. And essentially, she says it's a golem. It's a blank slate. It's weird. No point for that scene to ever happen except foreshadowing. Film ends. Good guys save the day. End of credit stinger, like we see in the modern Marvel movies, right? They were doing them back then.
Except they were stupider.
Yeah, we flash over to Moira McTaggart with her, essentially Gollum, and it removes its respirator mask, turns to her and says, Moira. And the assumption is Dr. Charles Xavier, when he got blowed up by the Phoenix Force, he manifested his powers and his mind powers into the Golem. That's exactly what I think they're doing here in part 1. There's no reason for this Golem to have a mind transfer unless it's for Picard. Now, this is where I think the writers are trying to be a little sneaky, because this would play to everything we've learned about so far, right? Picard's dying.
Oh, it's worse than that.
He doesn't have a lot of time.
I'll let you say your piece, but it's worse than that. I just thought of it.
Yeah, he has a brain problem, right? So it would be perfect to shift his mind into this robot Golem. That's the implication on the surface level. But I've been doing this for a long time, and I do try to give these writers the benefit of the doubt. 2, and probably the correct thing they're doing, is that this isn't a body for Picard at all. That this is Data. And remember, we've been told many, many times in the first couple episodes, when Bruce Maddox was still an important character, that you only need a single positron to recreate Data.
And then they fixed it to Neuron.
Then they fixed it to Neuron or whatever the fucking case may be. But you only need one itty bitty cell, something, to restore Data to who he was. And so my theory, which is equally as stupid as the first, is that this is Data.
I didn't even think of this.
You got B4, you got Lore, you got Data, and then somehow they're going to get a piece of Data's positronic matrix from something. Somehow. Maybe Sung has it. Maybe Picard's kept it and they'll lock it up his ass. Who knows? They're going to use it, and they're going to rebuild Data as we know him, so he comes back so they can tell more terrible stories. That's where we're at.
See, my initial thought was this is how they're going to recast the 80-year-old man, so that they can get away with their stupid little space adventures.
Maybe. I want to think more highly of Patrick Stewart and to be one and done with this, kind of like a British television show.
I'm not saying one and done. I'm saying whenever they want to pull that trigger.
When they pull, no, I see this as the easy, which it could be both, because this show has shown us how fucking stupid it is.
Oh, we had a second one, yeah.
That it's an X-Men 3. They're gonna pull an X-Men 3 with Patrick Stewart and be like, here's your body, your heart's fake. Now you're all fake. Now you've become everything you hate, and now you're a Data, or it's Data. And it's the only way to keep Brent Spiner around, because the only thing TNG is apparently is Data. This is like if all the Star Trek films were just about Spock and not just like the one. This is stupid.
Like 2 of them were about Spock, but...
And then I wrote after that, because the show is just about over. I couldn't even get out to write things get stupider. I just wrote dumber. under it.
Yeah,
Because
that's accurate.
The last thing we get is another stupid thing that leads us into next week, is that they catch Narek, who also crashed with them, and then evil Gold Soji teams up with him, breaks him out of their makeshift prison to incite an uprising among the 10 or 20 gold people there to kill all the Romulans and everyone coming at them.
Because they'll never be safe. They'll always have to keep running.
Because they'll always have to keep running. But to prove this, which everyone would have believed if she just said it, remember, she didn't have to convince anyone about this. To do this, she has to break Narek out of jail by killing one of her data friends by stabbing her in the eye. And none of that had to happen. None of that had to happen because Gold Soji simply could have done the exact same thing and said, hey, these people are bad. We need to fight. I've seen the vision. And everyone would have been like, all right, we know you. We don't know these fuckers. They just showed up out of the sky with a giant metal cube. That's fucking scary. Let's kill them all. All right, whatevs. She had to kill one of her own and is now evil data girl. And that's where this episode leaves us. Complete and utter bullshit. -5 stars. F minus.
You skipped the best part.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Where the second, where the Forgotten Sung kid is like, no, she's right, and then he's like, look, like Picard makes his little speech, like, no, I will be your best advocate, and whatever. They're like, he's like, they've never seen another human. Look at you. I mean, why should they believe you? That's the second Sung's entire point. He's like,
and
oh, look at how dignified. Like, it's
everything that happened.
He's like, look at how dignified you are. I mean, just
he knows that no one believes Picard. He knows that Mars is burning and failed, even though he's been in isolation there. He knows everything that's going on in the universe.
It sounds like the sort of asshole-ish line that like their ancestor had on like Enterprise, where like, you don't understand this shit, and you don't understand.
None of this makes any fucking sense because they already sent an envoy out once. They sent Flower's sister and Jaina to get blowed up by the captain of the Ibn Majid, remember?
Yeah.
So why would they be doing it again? They already got blowed up. Why would they allow them on the planet and be like, oh, you seem cool. Oh, no, now we fucking hate you. Now we hate you because you killed, because a random Romulan killed one of our gold people. So you're all evil. What the fuck does that matter?
But it's just
the Federation killed Flower and Jaina.
Yeah.
Shot him right in the fucking head. Splattered guts everywhere, apparently. But that was fine. But this random Romulan who's already been established to be a bad guy does a bad guy thing. And now we're going to end the universe? Fuck you, bad writing.
And it's one last opportunity to make the old man wrong. Because you were on that at the beginning of this.
Yep. It's just another thing that where Picard gets a speech about doing the right thing and being better, and then the show says, hey,
nah, fuck that.
You're wrong. Fucking get out of here, old man. No wonder she wants to fucking axe Kurtzman in the show. Fuck it. This is bad. I would rather this turn into a fucking Bob Newhart episode and just he wakes up. He just
like
fucking
the end of the Mary Tyler Moore show?
He just wakes the fuck up and he's like at the Stargazer's helm or something. He's like, that was a weird ass dream. Oh, fuck this. How I don't know what the ending is going to be, but I'm just trying to guess whose holodeck program are we in right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's enough sexy people for it to be Reg Barkley, but I don't know.
This is the fucking dumbest thing, and I am done. I am livid. Yeah. Fuck everything about this. This
From
was
what I
the worst
understand,
possible goddamn thing, the worst way, and even outlines and people are finally coming out where we're saying, hey, this last episode was just kind of dumb.
From what I understand,
dumb,
Sherry Redstone.
Fuck.
Sherry Redstone considers Star Trek like their crown jewel because
That
Fuck,
is their
man.
fucking ground jewel. CBS
I mean-
doesn't have anything else.
Yeah.
What do they
So
fucking
I'd
have?
imagine she's
NCIS?
pissed.
I mean, yeah, good. NCIS is nice if you're over the age of 65. Fuck, that's the joke. The CBS is about is the demo there is 65 and over.
I mean, remember when we were like kids or whatever, and like all those Playmates toys were out there, and they were making ass loads of money because everybody wanted them because they looked fucking cool and they were accurate.
They made money. Star Trek makes money.
It doesn't anymore.
It's always just made money, but it doesn't because it's been fucking ruined.
It's been ruined, and all the toy companies are like, no kid wants to buy this shit. Kids can't even watch
films
this fucking show.
had action figures for the first film, and that was it. They didn't sell. They were in dollar stores afterwards because no one wanted them. The second and third one didn't have a toy line.
No ships, no nothing.
No ships, no toy line, no nothing. And now you're not getting a fourth film because that whole fucking thing fell apart. So that's done. Fuck, Star Trek is your crown jewel of CBS. They literally fucking launched a television network around it. They launched the UPN on the back of Voyager. They launched a fucking entire television network on Star Trek.
And
Fucking
A.
They
filled the extra time with reruns of like other shit, and then Marvin and Moesha.
Of course, they started UPN on fucking Star Trek because you'd get the views, and they did. They started their streaming service on Star Trek because that's what they had. They literally created a new series for Discovery, whatever we think of it or not. They literally built their streaming platform around Star Trek because we wrote about it. It's the only show that was on CBS All Access for like the first 5 or 6 months.
That was like original, yeah.
It was it, and it was Star Trek reruns and reruns of old CBS shows. That was it. They have more now, but still.
I'm pretty much just using it to watch old Star Trek. I just watched Unification, so
you could still get all the old Star Trek on Netflix still, for fuck's sake. They don't even have it consolidated yet. I'm done. My subscription is done. Literally done because I got an email saying they can't update my payment because it was not it was one of those pay-as-you-go cards.
Oh shit, that's right.
So I'm like, what the fuck do I care? I got another week. It's the 22nd now. Yeah, it'll be done at the end of the month. Fuck you. They're ruining the one property they have. If Star Trek doesn't do well critically, they have nothing on that platform to keep anyone invested. They've got nothing because they went whole hog with this one because Star Trek isn't on their CBS television network, remember? And it's on the streaming platform, and it got a lot more money thrown onto it because it's still the best looking show on television right now.
It pisses people like us off, but
it pisses us off, but it is gorgeous looking fucking television. If this was on regular TV, it would probably be the highest grossing costing project out there right now.
Oh yeah, they're pumping money into it.
Hands down.
Obviously too.
They just put the money into the wrong people. They put money into the absolute wrong people, and I hate everything about it. I hate everything about this. I want to die, and that's Star Trek Picard for this week. Let us know in the comments. Let us know if this just made you angry. I know we've had a lot of people comment and support us, but I'm telling you, this episode was probably the worst Star Trek thing I've ever seen.
This is the one that broke you.
Yeah. And I will let things slide. I've time and time again I've said I am the guy that will love a program just because it fucks with the canon and meta. But it's such a stupid mess. This is such a stupid mess. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you even want a Picard season 2? Do you want that 7 of 9 spinoff that they're clearly dangling in front of you? Do you want Alex Kurtzman fired and dumped in a vat of coronavirus? Let us know. Because this is a travesty.
Man, I've been watching Alex Kurtzman ruin shit I love for like a decade and a half.
This is not this. There's no hope to this. There's no uplifting, especially right now in like literally the worst time in history right now. Like I'm in California and I'm literally on lockdown.
Dude,
like
he
like
is
I need
responsible.
the one time I want escapism and like need something, just like this is fucking what I get.
You know what Alex Kurtzman's name is on?
What?
All those shitty Transformers movies?
Of course they fucking are. Of course. That doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Just get rid of this guy, please. If anyone at CBS is listening to this.
We're talking about a man who's like, we can't possibly figure out a way to get Soundwave into these movies because nobody has a boombox anymore.
We don't have a Patreon. We don't make any money. We don't make any money off ads from CBS. This show sucks.
Mm-hmm.
This show sucks. Fat, rotten donkey dick. Kill it. Cut it off before you got gangrene. Cut the thing off before it infects all of CBS. Stop this.
That's how you have to deal with cancer.
I hate this so much that even if you called me to write for it, I wouldn't be like, no, my suggestion is just keep your money instead of hiring me and cancel the fucking thing.
No, my solution is let me do my own thing until these fuckers to go away.
I'd say kill it and let me do something original. Fuck this.
Mm-hmm.
Leave it. Let it die. So that's Star Trek Picard. Let us know if you loved it. Let us know in the comments below.